16 years ago, on a gray October afternoon in rural Ashford County, Ohio, 14-year-old Nicole Summers stepped off her school bus at the corner of Miller Road and County Route 47, waved goodbye to her best friend through the dusty window, and began the half-mile walk home she'd made 1,000 times before. By the time her mother called the sheriff's office 3 hours later, Nicole had vanished into the autumn air, leaving behind only her navy blue backpack in a ditch and a town forever changed by 3 words. We never found her. For 16 years, the case lay dormant in a metal cabinet at the Ashford County Sheriff's Office, marked missing juvenile, no leads, inactive. But when a dogged cold case investigator discovered a faded surveillance image showing a blue work van idling near the bus stop that afternoon, a detail buried in witness statements, everything changed. That grainy photograph, combined with revolutionary forensic genealogy technology, would finally answer the question that haunted Nicole's mother every single day. Who took my daughter? Before we begin this journey toward justice, let us know in the comments where you're watching from. And if cases like Nicole's deserve to be told, subscribe to Untold Cold Cases Files, because some stories refuse to stay buried. The morning of October 17, 2007 began like any other Wednesday in the small farming community of Millerton, Ohio, population 2,847. The air carried the sharp bite of autumn, temperature hovering at 48 degrees Fahrenheit with thick gray clouds promising rain by evening. Yellow and red leaves skittered across County Route 47, blown by winds gusting from the northwest at 12 miles per hour. At 642 Sycamore Drive, in a modest 2-story house with white aluminum siding and a front porch swing, Nicole Summers woke to her alarm at 6:15 a.m. She was 14 years old, a freshman at Ashford County High School, with shoulder-length brown hair usually pulled into a ponytail, brown eyes, 5 feet 2 inches tall, weighing approximately 105 pounds. That morning, she wore her usual school outfit: blue jeans, white sneakers with pink laces, a gray hoodie with the school mascot, a cardinal, printed on the front, and her treasured silver bracelet engraved with her initials NS that her grandmother had given her for her 13th birthday. Her mother, Jennifer Summers, 38, worked the morning shift at Millerton General Hospital as a registered nurse. She recalled later, in statements given to Detective Carl Harrison of the Ashford County Sheriff's Office, that Nicole came downstairs at 6:47 a.m., ate 2 pieces of toast with strawberry jam, drank a glass of orange juice, and complained mildly about an upcoming algebra test. Mother and daughter talked briefly about weekend plans. Nicole wanted to go to the county fair on Saturday with her best friend, Amanda Clark. Jennifer remembered kissing her daughter's forehead before Nicole grabbed her navy blue backpack, heavy with textbooks, and headed out the front door at 7:12 a.m. to catch the bus at the corner. The yellow school bus, number 47, operated by Ashford County School District, arrived at the Sycamore Drive stop at 7:19 a.m. Driver Thomas Webb, 52, a retired postal worker who'd driven school routes for 11 years, confirmed Nicole boarded normally, took her usual seat 3 rows from the front next to Amanda Clark, and seemed in good spirits. The bus made 17 stops that morning, collecting 43 students before arriving at Ashford County High School at 8:04 a.m. Nicole's day proceeded routinely. She attended first period English, second period algebra, where she took the tests she'd been worried about, third period biology, and fourth period social studies before lunch. In the cafeteria at 12:15 p.m., she sat with her regular group, Amanda Clark, Sarah Chen, and Brittany Moore, eating chicken fingers and French fries from the hot lunch line, laughing about something one of their teachers had said. Her social studies teacher, Mrs. Patricia Volkoff, who'd taught at the school for 19 years, later recalled Nicole seemed completely normal, happy, maybe a little tired, but nothing unusual whatsoever. The school day ended at 3:05 p.m. Nicole met Amanda at their lockers, collected her backpack, now stuffed with homework assignments, including a chapter to read for English and math problems for algebra, and walked with Amanda and approximately 60 other students to the bus loading zone. Security cameras at the school's main entrance captured Nicole at 3:11 p.m., backpack slung over her left shoulder, talking animatedly with Amanda, her face visible and smiling in the grainy footage that would later be analyzed frame by investigators. Bus 47 departed Ashford County High School at 3:18 p.m., retracing its morning route in reverse. The afternoon was overcast, temperature dropping to 44 degrees, wind picking up slightly. Thomas Webb later told investigators the ride was normal, kids talking, nothing unusual. The bus made its stops methodically, the number of students decreasing at each intersection. At 3:51 p.m., Bus 47 reached the corner of Miller Road and County Route 47, the stop where Nicole Summers got off every single school day. This intersection sat in a semi-rural area, cornfields to the north and east, a small cluster of houses to the south, and Miller Road stretching west for exactly 0.48 miles to Nicole's house at 642 Sycamore Drive. The road was paved but narrow, lined with drainage ditches on both sides, tall grass, scattered oak trees, and the occasional mailbox. Thomas Webb activated the bus's stop sign and flashing red lights. Nicole stood, said goodbye to Amanda Clark, their last words caught in Amanda's memory forever. "See you tomorrow, call me tonight about the fare," and descended the 3 steps to the roadside. Webb watched in his oversized mirror as Nicole stepped onto the gravel shoulder, adjusted her backpack straps, and began walking west on Miller Road toward home. The bus doors closed with a pneumatic hiss. At 3:52 p.m., Bus 47 pulled away. Nicole Summers was never seen alive again. At 642 Sycamore Drive, Jennifer Summers arrived home from her hospital shift at 4:47 p.m. She'd stopped at Miller's Grocery to pick up items for dinner: chicken breasts, rice, green beans. As she pulled into the driveway, she expected to see lights on in Nicole's upstairs bedroom, hear music playing faintly, or find her daughter at the kitchen table doing homework. Instead, the house was dark and silent. Jennifer carried groceries inside, calling out, "Nicole? Honey, I'm home." No response. She walked through the living room, checked the kitchen, climbed the stairs to Nicole's bedroom. Empty. The bed was made, just as Nicole had left it that morning. Her desktop computer was off. School papers from the previous week still sat on her desk. Jennifer felt the first flutter of concern, but reasoned Nicole might have gone to Amanda's house, though she usually called first. Jennifer dialed Amanda's home number. Amanda's mother, Linda Clark, answered. "No, Amanda's here doing homework, but Nicole isn't with her." Amanda said they separated at the bus stop like usual. The flutter became a throb. Jennifer called Nicole's cell phone. It rang 4 times, then went to voicemail. She tried again. Same result. She called 2 other friends from Nicole's contact list. Neither had seen or heard from Nicole since school ended. By 5:15 p.m., with the October dusk settling gray and cold over Millerton, Jennifer Summers stood in her kitchen, phone gripped tightly, and dialed 911. The call was logged at the Ashford County Sheriff's Office Communications Center at 5:17 p.m. Dispatcher Rachel Klein, on duty since 3 p.m., answered. 911, what's your emergency? Jennifer's voice, later described in the incident report as controlled but strained, replied, "My daughter didn't come home from school. She got off the bus at 3:52, but she's not here. I can't find her anywhere." Klein followed protocol, gathering information. Name, age, physical description, last known location, clothing worn, medical conditions, recent behavior changes. Jennifer answered each question precisely. Nicole Summers, 14 years old, brown hair, brown eyes, 5'2", 105 pounds. Last seen, Miller Road bus stop, 3:52 p.m. Wearing, gray hoodie, blue jeans, white sneakers with pink laces. Medical, none. Behavioral, completely normal. Klein assigned the call priority code J1, missing juvenile, immediate response, and dispatched Deputy Marcus Reeves on patrol in Sector 3 to the Summers residence. The radio call crackled at 5:19 p.m. Unit 37, respond to 642 Sycamore Drive, missing juvenile report, female 14 years old. Deputy Reeves, 29, 3 years with the department, arrived at 5:27 p.m. He conducted a preliminary interview with Jennifer Summers in the living room, his notebook filling with details, timeline, clothing, route, usual behavior. When asked if Nicole had any reasons to run away, boyfriend troubles, family conflicts, school problems, Jennifer answered firmly, "No, nothing. Nicole was happy. She had no reason to disappear." Reeves radioed for additional units. At 5:41 p.m., Sergeant Daniel Foster arrived, followed by Detective Carl Harrison at 5:56 p.m. Harrison, 44, 15 years with the sheriff's office, had handled 2 prior missing juvenile cases. Both resolved within hours when the children turned up at friends' houses. But as he interviewed Jennifer Summers, reviewed the timeline, and noted the distance between the bus stop and home, a cold weight settled in his stomach. By 6:15 p.m., with darkness complete and temperature dropping to 38 degrees, Detective Harrison authorized a ground search. 6 deputies, 4 volunteer firefighters, and 11 civilian volunteers from the neighborhood assembled at the Miller Road bus stop. Harrison divided them into 3 teams. 1 to walk Miller Road from the bus stop to the Summers home, checking both sides of the road, drainage ditches, wooded areas. 1 to canvass houses along the route, interviewing residents. 1 to expand into the cornfields north of the road. Equipped with high-powered flashlights, the teams began at 6:32 p.m. The night was cold, wind gusting stronger now, the smell of rain heavy in the air. Flashlight beams swept across brown cornstalks, tall grass, gravel driveways, mailboxes. Volunteers called Nicole's name repeatedly. "Nicole! Nicole Summers!" Only silence and wind answered. At 7:04 p.m., Deputy Thomas Garrett, walking the south side of Miller Road, approximately 0.31 miles from the bus stop, found something in the drainage ditch. He crouched, shone his flashlight down into the ditch where water pooled from recent rain, and saw it. A navy blue backpack, partially submerged, one strap tangled in weeds. "I've got something," Garrett called into his radio. "Miller Road, 400 meters west of the bus stop, south side ditch. It's a backpack." Within minutes, Harrison arrived. Using latex gloves, he carefully lifted the backpack from the water. Heavy, waterlogged. He unzipped it slowly. Inside, textbooks, notebooks with Nicole's name written inside the covers, pens, a calculator, a plastic folder containing homework assignments. Everything a high school freshman would carry. Harrison's jaw tightened. He radioed communications. 10:19, Detective Harrison. "I need crime scene processing at this location immediately. This is now a critical missing persons investigation." The backpack, labeled Evidence Item A1, was photographed in place, then sealed in a plastic evidence bag. The surrounding area was marked with reflective stakes, measurements taken, a sketch drawn. At 7:31 p.m., the first drops of rain began to fall. By 8 p.m., rain fell steadily, washing away footprints, tire tracks, any trace evidence that might have existed. The search teams continued until 11:47 p.m. when Harrison, soaked and exhausted, called a suspension until morning. Before dismissing the volunteers, he gathered them in the Millerton Volunteer Fire Department parking lot and said, "We will find Nicole. We don't stop until we do." But in his patrol car, driving back to the sheriff's office through the rain, Harrison gripped the steering wheel and whispered to no one, "Where are you, Nicole?" The morning of October 18th broke gray and cold, the rain from the night before leaving Miller Road slick and muddy. Detective Carl Harrison arrived at the Ashford County Sheriff's Office at 6 a.m., having slept barely 3 hours. In the conference room, he spread a large county map across the table and marked locations with red pins. The bus stop, the backpack discovery site, Nicole's home, the school. At 6:45 a.m., Sheriff Robert Dalton, 56, a 28-year veteran, authorized a full-scale investigation. Additional personnel were called in from neighboring counties. The Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation, BCI, was notified. At 7:30 a.m., an Amber Alert was issued statewide. Nicole Summers, 14, white female, brown hair, brown eyes, 5'2", 105 pounds, last seen Miller Road, Ashford County. Gray hoodie, blue jeans, white sneakers. Anyone with information, call 1-800-FIND-NICOLE. Television stations across Ohio broadcast Nicole's school photo. Her smile bright, eyes warm, the image that would become seared into the public consciousness. Radio stations repeated the alert every 30 minutes. By 9 a.m., the tip line had received 47 calls. Meanwhile, the ground search resumed at first light. The search area expanded to include a 2-mile radius from the bus stop. Cornfields, wooded areas, abandoned barns, drainage culverts, the Millerton Creek that ran parallel to County Route 47, approximately 1 mile north. 73 volunteers, including Ohio State Patrol officers and BCI agents, walked in grid patterns, probing every potential hiding place. 3 K9 units arrived from Columbus at 10:15 a.m. The cadaver dogs were given Nicole's scent from clothing in her bedroom, then released along Miller Road. The lead dog, a German Shepherd named Ranger, tracked east from the backpack location for approximately 200 feet, then lost the scent near the road's center line. The handler, Officer Linda Cho, reported, "The scent ends abruptly here. That suggests she was picked up by a vehicle." Those words hung heavy in the cold October air. At the Summers residence, Detective Harrison conducted a detailed interview with Jennifer. She sat on the living room couch, her sister beside her for support, and answered questions for 3 hours. Did Nicole have a boyfriend? No. Any arguments at school? None that Jennifer knew of. Conflicts at home? No. Access to money? $50 in her bedroom drawer, still there. History of running away? Never. Friends who might hide her? Harrison contacted each one. None had seen or heard from Nicole. When asked if anyone had shown unusual interest in Nicole recently, strange cars following her, unknown adults speaking to her, online interactions that seemed odd, Jennifer shook her head. Nicole was careful. I taught her about stranger danger since she was little. She wouldn't get into a car with someone she didn't know. Harrison noted that last sentence carefully in his report. Mother states, victim would not willingly enter vehicle with stranger. Suggests either force used or perpetrator known to victim. At Ashford County High School, detectives interviewed Nicole's teachers, friends, and classmates. Amanda Clark, Nicole's best friend, was interviewed by Detective Sarah Chen, a BCI agent specializing in juvenile cases. Amanda, tearful and shaken, recounted their last moments on the bus in painful detail. We were talking about the fare. She was excited. She waved at me through the window when the bus drove away. That's the last time I saw her. Detective Chen asked gently, "Did Nicole mention anyone bothering her? Any adults acting strangely around her?" Amanda thought for a long moment, then said, "There was this van. A blue van. I saw it near the bus stop a couple times last week. I didn't think much of it, but it was just sitting there." Chen's pen paused. "A blue van? Can you describe it?" "Just blue, kind of old-looking, like a work van, not a minivan. I didn't see who was driving." Chen documented every word. Witness reports blue work-style van observed near bus stop location on multiple occasions prior to disappearance. Driver unknown, vehicle details limited. That afternoon, detectives canvassed every house within a mile of Miller Road. At 2:37 p.m., Deputy Marcus Reeves knocked on the door of 1847 County Route 47, a small ranch-style home approximately 0.6 miles east of the bus stop. The resident, Harold Finch, 67, retired mechanic, answered. Reeves asked if Finch had seen or heard anything unusual on October 17th around 4 p.m. Finch scratched his jaw, thinking, "Well, I was working in my garage, heard a vehicle slow down out on the road, thought maybe someone was lost. Didn't think nothing of it." "What kind of vehicle?" "Couldn't say for sure. Engine sounded like a van or truck, something with a bigger motor. Was only out there a minute, then drove off." Reeves noted the information. Witness heard vehicle slow stop on County Route 47 approximately 1600 hours, 10:17:07. Type, possibly van or truck. Duration, brief, did not observe visually. By October 19th, 48 hours after Nicole's disappearance, the investigation had generated 127 tips, conducted 63 interviews, and searched over 8 square miles of terrain. Yet Nicole Summers remained missing. No body, no witnesses to an abduction, no clear suspect. The only tangible leads were a backpack in a ditch and vague mentions of a blue van. On October 20th, Detective Harrison focused on a detail that nagged at him. The blue van. If Amanda Clark and potentially other witnesses had seen such a vehicle near the bus stop, there might be evidence of it. He requested footage from any businesses or residences with security cameras along County Route 47. Most homes in rural Ashford County didn't have surveillance systems, but at 11:42 a.m., Harrison caught a break. Miller's Grocery, located at the intersection of County Route 47 and Ashford Road, approximately 1.2 miles east of the bus stop, had a single exterior camera pointed at its parking lot and the road beyond. The owner, Ed Miller, 71, provided the digital recording for October 17th without hesitation. Harrison sat in his office, door closed, and watched the timestamp tick forward on his computer screen. The camera's angle was poor, capturing mostly the store's front lot, but the far right edge of the frame showed a slice of County Route 47. At 15:47:33:47 p.m., a vehicle passed from right to left. Harrison paused, rewound, played it again frame by frame. A van, blue. Work style, no side windows, likely cargo space in the rear. Older model, possibly 1990s. Traveling westbound on County Route 47 toward the Miller Road bus stop. The license plate was completely illegible, the angle too oblique. But it was there. A blue van, 5 minutes before Nicole's bus was scheduled to arrive. Harrison felt his pulse quicken. He printed a screenshot, the image grainy and washed out, but clear enough to show the vehicle's color and general shape. He labeled it Evidence Item V1, Surveillance Thwart. Still, Miller's Grocery, 10/17/07, 5:47 hours. Blue work van, westbound CR 47. That afternoon, Harrison briefed Sheriff Dalton and the investigative team. We've got a van sighting confirmed by witness Amanda Clark and potentially corroborated by Harold Finch hearing a vehicle. Now we have this image showing a blue van heading toward the bus stop minutes before Nicole got off. This is our primary lead. A BOLO, be on the lookout, was issued to all law enforcement in Ohio. Blue work van, 1990s model, possibly connected to missing juvenile case. Any sightings or information, contact Ashford County Sheriff's Office immediately. Over the next 2 weeks, the blue van lead generated 89 tips. Deputies investigated each one. They found 12 blue vans registered in Ashford County. Each owner was interviewed, whereabouts on October 17th verified, vehicles inspected. None matched the timeline or raised suspicion. Detectives expanded to neighboring counties. 43 additional blue vans documented, all checked. Theories emerged. Maybe the van was from out of state, maybe it was unregistered, maybe it had been repainted. But without a license plate, make, model, or driver description, the lead dissipated into frustration. Following standard protocol in missing juvenile cases, Detective Harrison looked close to home. Statistics showed that in abduction cases, perpetrators were often someone known to the victim, family members, family friends, neighbors, teachers, coaches. Harrison compiled a list of every adult male with regular access to Nicole. Jennifer Summers provided names willingly. Nicole's father, Robert Summers, had died in a car accident when Nicole was 7 years old. Jennifer had not remarried, but had dated briefly in 2005. That relationship had ended amicably, and the man, verified by Harrison, now lived in Pennsylvania with a new family. Jennifer's brother, Michael Grant, lived in Cleveland and had last visited Millerton in August. He was interviewed by phone, alibi confirmed. Harrison interviewed Nicole's teachers at Ashford County High School. 5 male teachers had Nicole in their classes. Each provided detailed accounts of their whereabouts on October 17th, all verifiable. Nicole's soccer coach, Brad Williams, 34, was interviewed extensively. On October 17th, Williams had been at practice with the girls' varsity team until 5:30 p.m., witnessed by 16 players and 2 assistant coaches. Cleared. Thomas Webb, the bus driver, was interviewed under protocol. Webb, visibly shaken by Nicole's disappearance, explained he'd driven his route, dropped Nicole at her stop, continued on, completed his route by 4:35 p.m., returned the bus to the school district lot, clocked out at 4:52 p.m., and driven home. His wife confirmed he arrived home at 5:10 p.m. Cleared. Then Harrison turned to neighbors along Miller Road. There were 11 households within half a mile of the bus stop. Most residents were elderly couples or young families. One name, however, stood out: David Kowalski, 42, who lived at 1291 Miller Road, exactly 0.18 miles west of the bus stop, directly along Nicole's walking route home. David Kowalski had lived at 1291 Miller Road since 2003. He worked as an independent contractor, plumbing, electrical work, home repairs, and operated his business out of his garage. Divorced, no children, he lived alone. Neighbors described him as quiet, keeps to himself, but friendly enough. On October 22nd, Detective Harrison and Deputy Reeves knocked on Kowalski's door at 2:15 p.m. Kowalski answered promptly, wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, hands stained with grease. Harrison introduced himself, explained the investigation, and asked if he could answer some questions. Kowalski agreed immediately. Of course. Anything to help that poor girl. They sat at Kowalski's kitchen table. Harrison noted the house was modest but tidy. Tools organized in the garage, a television on in the living room showing a football game, dishes drying by the sink. Mr. Kowalski, do you remember October 17th? Last Wednesday afternoon? I was working here at home, had a plumbing job in the morning, got back around 2:30, did some paperwork. Did you see or hear anything unusual around 4 p.m.? Kowalski thought, then shook his head. No, nothing. I had the TV on, might have been making some noise in the garage. Didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Do you know Nicole Summers? I've seen her walking past. Waves sometimes. Nice kid. I can't believe this happened. Harrison asked about Kowalski's vehicle. Kowalski drove a red Ford pickup truck parked in the driveway. Can I see your vehicle registration? Sure. Kowalski retrieved it from a kitchen drawer. Registration matched. Red 2001 Ford F-150, plates valid. Harrison copied the information. Do you own any other vehicles? A van, maybe? Kowalski paused for half a second. Harrison noticed, then said, No, just the truck. Why? We're looking into all vehicles in the area. Standard procedure. The interview lasted 37 minutes. Kowalski seemed cooperative, answers consistent, demeanor calm. Harrison asked if Kowalski would consent to a voluntary search of his property. Kowalski hesitated, then said, I'd rather not without a lawyer. Nothing personal, just, I watch TV, you know, people get accused of things. Harrison respected that. Without probable cause, he couldn't obtain a warrant. But he noted in his report, subject David Kowalski, 1291 Miller Road, declined consent to search. No immediate red flags, but residence located on victim's route home. Recommend follow-up. Over the next week, Harrison discreetly investigated Kowalski. No criminal record, no history of complaints, business license current. Neighbors had no negative reports. One neighbor, Martha Jennings, 59, said, David, he fixed our sink last year. Polite, professional, never gave us any reason to worry. Without evidence, Kowalski remained a name on a list, nothing more. By December 2007, the investigation had exhausted its immediate leads. Over 300 tips investigated, dozens of individuals interviewed and cleared. Hundreds of man-hours spent searching fields, woods, abandoned structures. The FBI's Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Card team assisted for 2 weeks in November, then departed when no new evidence emerged. Nicole's case was featured on local news repeatedly, then on statewide broadcasts. In January 2008, it appeared on a national missing persons website. Jennifer Summers did interviews, holding Nicole's school photo, pleading, If you know anything, please come forward. I just want to bring my daughter home. But the months passed. Winter snow blanketed Miller Road, covering the spot where Nicole's backpack had been found. Spring came, then summer, then another autumn. Each season Jennifer Summers woke hoping for answers and went to bed with none. Detective Harrison never stopped working the case, but without new leads, there was little to pursue. The blue van, evidence item V1, the grainy surveillance still, remained pinned to his investigation board, but it led nowhere. In March 2009, the case was officially classified. Missing juvenile, cold case, no active leads. The file, numbered MC 2007-142, was transferred to storage at the Ashford County Sheriff's Office Records Division. Harrison kept copies of everything in his desk drawer. He looked at Nicole's school photo every day, her smile frozen in time, and whispered, I'm sorry. For 16 years the case would remain cold. But in a secure evidence locker at the sheriff's office, 2 items waited in sealed plastic bags: Nicole's navy blue backpack and a cotton swab containing DNA collected from the backpack strap in 2007, a trace amount of skin cells too degraded at the time for useful analysis with available technology. Evidence item DNA 1. Waiting. From 2009 to 2023, case file MC 2007-142 resided in the Ashford County Sheriff's Office cold case storage, a climate-controlled room in the basement of the county building where rows of metal shelves held decades of unsolved crimes. Burglaries, assaults, missing persons, one unsolved homicide from 1983. Each case represented someone's pain, someone's unanswered question. The file for Nicole Summers occupied shelf B7, position 14. Inside the accordion folder, typed reports, handwritten notes, Witness statements, the surveillance still of the blue van, photographs of Miller Road, evidence logs, maps, Nicole's school photo paper clipped to the inside cover. The folder grew dusty, the edges yellowing. In the evidence locker, a separate section for biological samples, Nicole's backpack remained in evidence bag A1, and the DNA swab in a smaller sealed vial labeled DNA1, stored at 2 degrees Celsius per protocol. During those 16 years, the world changed. DNA technology advanced exponentially. What was impossible in 2007 became routine by 2020. Forensic genealogy, using DNA to build family trees through public genealogy databases, revolutionized cold case investigations nationwide. High-profile cases were solved. The Golden State Killer in 2018, countless Jane and John Does identified, decades-old murders closed. But in Ashford County, Ohio, a place where budgets were tight and the sheriff's office had only 9 full-time deputies, cold cases remained cold. There was no dedicated cold case unit, no grant funding for DNA reanalysis, no staff to revisit forgotten files. Jennifer Summers never stopped searching. Every year on October 17th, the anniversary of Nicole's disappearance, she organized a candlelight vigil at the Miller Road bus stop. The first year, 200 people attended. By year 10, it was Jennifer, her sister, and a handful of friends. By year 16, Jennifer stood alone in the October cold, lighting a single candle, whispering, "I haven't forgotten you, baby." She had aged visibly, hair more gray than brown, lines etched deep around her eyes, her smile, once easy and bright, now something she had to force. She never moved from 642 Sycamore Drive. Nicole's bedroom remained exactly as it had been in 2007. The bed made, posters on the walls, stuffed animals on the shelf. Jennifer dusted the room once a week. In 2015, 8 years after Nicole vanished, Jennifer met with a private investigator, spending her savings to have the case reviewed. The investigator found nothing new. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Summers. Without fresh evidence, there's nowhere to go." By 2023, Jennifer was 54 years old, still working at Millerton General Hospital, still living in the house where every corner held a memory of her daughter, still praying every night for an answer. David Kowalski, the neighbor at 1291 Miller Road, lived quietly in the years following 2007. His contractor business continued steadily. He maintained his property, paid his taxes, attended the occasional community event. To everyone in Millerton, he was unremarkable. Just another middle-aged man living a quiet life in rural Ohio. In 2011, Kowalski sold his property on Miller Road and moved to a small house in neighboring Wayne County, approximately 45 miles from Millerton. He told acquaintances he wanted a change of scenery, a fresh start. No one questioned it. At his new residence, he continued his contractor work, kept to himself, developed no close relationships. If anyone asked about his past, he said briefly, "I'm from Ashford County, lived there a while, nothing special." Detective Carl Harrison retired from the Ashford County Sheriff's Office in 2016 after 24 years of service. At his retirement party, colleagues gave speeches, shared stories. Harrison smiled, thanked everyone. But that night at home, he opened his personal copy of Nicole Summers' case file and stared at her photo. "I never found you," he whispered. "I'm sorry." The blue van sighting, the surveillance still from Miller's grocery, the fleeting theories, all of it faded into the bureaucratic past. The case was a ghost, haunting but intangible, until 2023. In January 2023, the Ohio Attorney General's Office launched the Ohio Cold Case Initiative, a statewide program funded by federal grants to reopen unsolved cases using modern forensic technology. Each county was encouraged to submit cold cases for review, with priority given to missing persons and homicides with preserved biological evidence. Ashford County Sheriff's Office submitted 12 cases, including MC 2007-142, Nicole Summers. On March 8, 2023, investigator Lieutenant Maya Torres arrived at the Ashford County Sheriff's Office. Torres, 38, worked for the Ohio Bureau of Criminal Investigation's Cold Case Unit, specializing in forensic genealogy. She had a master's degree in forensic science, 7 years experience, and a personal drive. Her own cousin had been murdered in 2005. The case solved only through DNA genealogy in 2019. She understood what families endured. Sheriff Dalton, now 72 and nearing his own retirement, greeted Torres in his office. "We've got 12 cases for you. Where do you want to start?" Torres had already reviewed the files digitally. "Nicole Summers, missing juvenile, 2007. You've got DNA evidence collected but never fully analyzed. That's the best candidate." Dalton nodded slowly, his face somber. "That case has haunted us for 16 years. Torres pulled Nicole's file from her briefcase, spreading photographs across the conference table. Nicole's school photo, smiling and young. The backpack in the ditch, the grainy blue van surveillance still. "Tell me about this van." Dalton explained. Multiple witnesses mentioned a blue work van near the bus stop in the days before Nicole vanished. Surveillance image captured it 5 minutes before Nicole's bus arrived. Bolo issued. Dozens of vans checked, no match found. The lead went nowhere. "Do you still have the physical evidence?" Torres asked. "Everything's in the evidence locker. Backpack, DNA swab from the strap, clothing samples from Nicole's room for scent comparison." "I need the DNA swab sent to the BCI lab immediately." On March 14, 2023, evidence item DNA-1, the cotton swab collected from Nicole's backpack strap in 2007, was transported to the Ohio BCI Forensic Laboratory in London, Ohio. The vial, sealed and preserved at 2 degrees Celsius for 16 years, arrived at the lab's biology section at 10:47 a.m. Forensic biologist Dr. Anita Reyes, 45, logged the sample into the system, photographed the seal, and opened the vial under sterile conditions in the lab's clean room. The cotton swab, though aged, had been stored properly. DNA degrades over time, but cold storage significantly slows the process. Reyes used modern extraction techniques unavailable in 2007. Enhanced DNA amplification through PCR, polymerase chain reaction, STR analysis, short tandem repeat profiling, and high-sensitivity sequencing. Over the next 3 days, she isolated and amplified the DNA present on the swab. The results were clear: 2 distinct DNA profiles. Profile 1, female, matching the reference sample taken from Nicole's bedroom in 2007. Nicole's own DNA. Profile 2, male, unknown contributor. Dr. Reyes ran Profile 2 through CODIS, Combined DNA Index System, the FBI's national database containing DNA profiles from convicted offenders and arrestees. The computer processed through millions of records. At 2:37 p.m. on March 17, 2023, the screen displayed "No match found." The unknown male DNA did not belong to anyone in the criminal database. This meant the contributor had never been arrested for a felony or had their DNA collected by law enforcement. The dead end through traditional channels. But Dr. Reyes didn't stop there. She prepared Profile 2 for forensic genealogy. Forensic genealogy involves uploading a DNA profile to public genealogy databases, websites where people voluntarily submit their DNA to explore family ancestry. By comparing the unknown DNA to thousands of profiles in these databases, investigators can identify relatives of the unknown person, then build a family tree backward to pinpoint potential suspects. It's painstaking, time-intensive work, but revolutionary. On March 20th, Dr. Reyes uploaded Profile 2, the unknown male DNA from Nicole's backpack strap, to GetMatch, a public database that allows law enforcement uploads with proper legal authorization. Within hours, the system identified matches: third cousins, fourth cousins, distant relatives sharing segments of DNA with the unknown contributor. Dr. Reyes contacted Lieutenant Torres with the results. Torres immediately partnered with a forensic genealogist, Barbara Whitmore, 51, a specialist who'd assisted in solving 17 cold cases across the country using DNA and ancestry research. Whitmore got to work. She compiled a list of the closest matches to Profile 2, contacted some of them, with court authorization, to request family tree information and began constructing a genealogical map. Who shared ancestors with the unknown male? What family lines converged? Over 3 weeks, Whitmore traced branches back through census records, birth certificates, marriage licenses, obituaries. She built a tree with hundreds of names, color-coded by generation. At the trunk of the tree, a couple who lived in Ohio in the 1920s, from whom all the DNA matches descended. The unknown male had to be somewhere in this tree. Whitmore narrowed the search. Using age estimation, based on DNA methylation markers, the contributor was likely between 35 to 55 years old in 2007. Geographic location, Ohio-based ancestry, and the context of the crime. male, access to Ashford County in 2007, she identified 6 potential candidates. On April 11, 2023, Whitmore presented her findings to Lieutenant Torres in a video conference. 6 names on the screen, 6 men descended from the ancestral couple, the right age and location to be suspects. One name made Torres pause. David Allen Kowalski, born 1965, living in Wayne County, Ohio as of 2023. Formerly resided in Ashford County from 2003 to 2011. Torres pulled the original case file, searched the name, found it. David Kowalski, interviewed in October 2007, lived at 1291 Miller Road, along Nicole's route home, declined consent to search, noted as someone to follow up on, but never had been. Torres felt her pulse quicken. We need to confirm this. Obtaining a DNA sample from Kowalski without his knowledge required careful legal maneuvering. Torres applied for and received a court order authorizing abandoned DNA collection. Legally, if someone discards an item in a public place, like a coffee cup in a trash can, law enforcement can collect it for DNA testing. On April 18, 2023, Torres and 2 other investigators conducted surveillance on David Kowalski. He now lived at 89 Pinecrest Avenue, Wayne County, a modest single-story house with a detached garage. His red pickup truck, now a 2015 Ford F-150, was parked in the driveway. At 8:43 a.m., Kowalski left his house, drove to a nearby coffee shop, ordered a large black coffee, drank it while sitting in his truck in the parking lot, then threw the empty cup into a public trash bin and drove away. Torres, wearing plain clothes and sunglasses, approached the trash bin 3 minutes later. Using gloves, she retrieved the cup, sealed it in an evidence bag labeled K1, and transported it immediately to the BCI lab. Dr. Reyes extracted DNA from saliva residue on the cup's rim. Within 48 hours, she had a complete profile. On April 21 at 3:15 p.m., Dr. Reyes called Torres. It's a match. The DNA from the coffee cup matches the unknown male DNA from Nicole's backpack strap. Probability of random match, 1 in 7.3 trillion. Torres closed her eyes, exhaled slowly, then said, "We've got him." With DNA confirmation, Torres obtained a search warrant for Kowalski's residence and a warrant for his arrest. But before executing, she wanted to build an airtight case. She returned to the 2007 investigation files, rereading every page with new eyes. The blue van. Witnesses mentioned it. Surveillance image captured it. But it was never connected to anyone. Torres requested vehicle registration records for David Kowalski for the years 2005 to 2010. The records showed, in addition to his red Ford F-150, Kowalski had owned a second vehicle from 2005 to 2008, a 1996 Chevrolet Express cargo van. Color, blue. Torres stared at the registration printout. VIN number, plates, make, model. There it was, the blue van. Kowalski had sold the van in March 2008, 5 months after Nicole's disappearance, to a salvage yard in Columbus. Torres contacted the yard. The van had been scrapped in 2009, no longer existed. But the records did. Torres requested toll records, traffic citations, anything connected to that van's plates. She found a single citation. November 2006, Kowalski was ticketed for a broken taillight while driving the blue van in Ashford County. The citation was photographed. The image showed Kowalski standing beside the blue van. It matched the surveillance still from Miller's grocery. Torres compiled a timeline. 2005, Kowalski purchases blue van. 2006, van documented via traffic citation in Ashford County. October 2007, blue van seen on surveillance near Nicole's bus stop. Nicole vanishes. Her backpack contains Kowalski's DNA. March 2008, Kowalski sells the van. 2011, Kowalski leaves Ashford County permanently. Pattern of behavior consistent with guilt. Torres also discovered Kowalski had no alibi for October 17, 2007. In his original interview, he'd claimed he was home working, but no one corroborated it. He lived alone. No paper trail for his whereabouts between 3 to 6 p.m. that day. On April 27, 2023, Torres presented her findings to the Ashford County prosecutor, Michael Lawson, 49. The evidence: DNA match linking Kowalski to Nicole's backpack, ownership of the blue van seen near the abduction site, proximity of residence to Nicole's route home, lack of alibi, disposal of van, and relocation shortly after the crime. Lawson reviewed every document for 2 hours, then looked up. "This is solid. Let's bring him in." On May 3, 2023, at 6:20 a.m., a joint task force consisting of Lieutenant Maya Torres, 6 Ohio BCI agents, 4 Ashford County deputies, and 2 Wayne County deputies, executed the arrest warrant at 89 Pinecrest Avenue. The convoy of unmarked vehicles surrounded the house quietly. Torres, wearing a tactical vest marked police, approached the front door with 2 agents flanking her. She knocked loudly. "David Kowalski, police! Open the door!" Silence. Then shuffling sounds inside. The door opened slowly. Kowalski stood in the doorway wearing a white t-shirt and sweatpants, barefoot, eyes squinting against the morning light. He looked older, grayer, heavier, lines around his eyes, but his face was the same as in the 2007 interview photograph. "David Allen Kowalski?" Torres said. "Yeah, that's me. What's going on?" "You're under arrest for the kidnapping and murder of Nicole Summers." Kowalski's face went pale. "What? No, Turn around, hands behind your back." For a moment, Kowalski seemed frozen. Then he complied. The handcuffs clicked shut. Torres read him his Miranda rights while agents entered the house to execute the search warrant. Kowalski said nothing during transport, sitting silently in the back of Torres's vehicle as they drove the 45 miles to the Ashford County Jail. At 8:15 a.m., he was booked, fingerprinted, photographed, processed. He requested a lawyer. Questioning ceased. At 89 Pinecrest Avenue, forensic technicians conducted a methodical search. In the garage, they found tools, work supplies, receipts. In the house, a desktop computer, personal papers, old photographs. Everything was documented, photographed, cataloged. In a small storage closet off the garage, sealed in a plastic tote labeled Old Work Files, technicians discovered a cardboard box containing miscellaneous items, old invoices, repair manuals, a few hand tools. Beneath the manuals, they found a small spiral notebook, pages yellowed. The notebook contained handwritten notes, dates, locations, job descriptions from Kowalski's contractor work. The technician flipped through the pages. Most entries were mundane. Then, on a page dated October 2007, a single line written in pencil, 10:17, finished early. Drove around, saw the girl again. The technician's breath caught. She photographed the page, sealed the notebook in an evidence bag labeled SK7, and called Torres immediately. On May 5th, after Kowalski met with his court-appointed attorney, he agreed to an interview. Attorney present, audio and video recording running, Torres sat across from Kowalski in the windowless interrogation room at the Ashford County Sheriff's Office. Torres placed a folder on the table. Inside, the DNA report, the surveillance still of the blue van, the vehicle registration, the notebook page. "David, we have your DNA on Nicole Summers' backpack. We have your blue van captured on surveillance near her bus stop. We have your notebook with an entry on the day she disappeared. You wrote, 'Saw the girl again?' Which girl, David?" Kowalski stared at the table, jaw clenched, saying nothing. Torres continued, her voice steady but relentless. "The DNA doesn't lie. You touched Nicole's backpack. You were there. You took her. Where is she, David? Her mother deserves to know." Silence. Kowalski's attorney leaned over, whispered in his ear. Kowalski shook his head. Torres tried a different approach. "I know you didn't plan this. It was an impulse, wasn't it? You saw her walking home day after day, and something happened. You made a mistake, but you can make this right. Tell us where Nicole is." Kowalski's hands trembled slightly. He looked up, his eyes red. "I want to go back to my cell." The interrogation ended. No confession. But Torres didn't need one. The evidence spoke loudly enough. Forensic teams, based on Kowalski's notebook and proximity analysis, focused search efforts on areas near 1291 Miller Road and routes Kowalski frequented in 2007. On May 12th, cadaver dogs were deployed in a wooded area approximately 3.8 miles from Kowalski's former residence, an overgrown section of state-owned land that bordered private farms. At 2:47 p.m., a cadaver dog named Scout, a Belgian Malinois, alerted near the base of a large oak tree. The handler marked the spot. Forensic technicians carefully excavated the area. At a depth of 22 inches, they uncovered fabric, deteriorated denim, and cotton. Then bones. Small, delicate. The skeleton of a young person, partially intact, positioned in a shallow grave covered with leaves and soil. Beside the remains, a silver bracelet, tarnished but intact, engraved with the initials NS. Nicole Summers had been found. The remains were transported to the Montgomery County Coroner's Office for examination. Forensic anthropologist Dr. Helen Park confirmed, female aged 13 to 16 years at time of death, height and bone structure consistent with Nicole Summers. Dental records provided final confirmation. Cause of death, blunt force trauma to the skull. Nicole had been struck from behind with significant force, causing fatal injury. On May 16, 2023, Lieutenant Torres called Jennifer Summers. "Mrs. Summers, we found Nicole. I'm so sorry, but we found her." Jennifer collapsed to her knees, phone still pressed to her ear, and wept. Sobs that were both grief and relief. The unbearable weight of 16 years of not knowing finally lifted, replaced by the terrible certainty of loss confirmed. David Allen Kowalski was charged with kidnapping, first-degree murder, tampering with evidence, and abuse of a corpse. The trial began on September 18, 2023 in Ashford County Common Pleas Court, Judge Patricia Moreno presiding. The prosecution, led by Prosecutor Michael Lawson, presented the evidence methodically. 1. DNA evidence. Dr. Reyes testified about the DNA match between Kowalski and the sample from Nicole's backpack strap. Probability, 1 in 7.3 trillion. 2. Forensic genealogy. Barbara Whitmore explained how she traced the DNA to identify Kowalski as the suspect, presenting the family tree, the process validated and admissible under Ohio law. 3. The blue van. Surveillance still from Miller's grocery shown. Vehicle registration proving Kowalski owned a matching blue van. Testimony from Amanda Clark about seeing a blue van near the bus stop. 4. The notebook. The October 17, 2007 entry. Saw the girl again, displayed on the courtroom screen. Handwriting analysis confirmed it was written by Kowalski. 5. The remains. Dr. Park testified about Nicole's injuries, the manner of death, the location of the grave near areas Kowalski accessed. 6. Proximity and opportunity. Detective Harrison, called out of retirement to testify, explained Kowalski lived along Nicole's route home, had access, no alibi, and fled the area shortly after the crime. The defense argued reasonable doubt. The DNA could have transferred innocently. The notebook entry was vague. Coincidences aren't proof. But the cumulative weight of evidence was overwhelming. On October 4, 2023, after deliberating for 7 hours, the jury returned. Guilty on all counts. On November 8, 2023, David Kowalski stood before Judge Moreno for sentencing. Jennifer Summers sat in the front row, flanked by family and friends, her face drawn but resolute. Judge Moreno allowed Jennifer to deliver a victim impact statement. Jennifer approached the podium, hands trembling but voice steady. "For 16 years, I didn't know if my daughter was alive or dead. I didn't know if she was suffering, if she was calling for me, if she was scared. Every day was torture. You took my child, David. You took her future, her dreams, her life. You took 16 years from me, 16 years of not knowing, of hoping, of dying inside. Nothing can bring Nicole back. But today I have an answer. Today, justice is served." She sat down, tears streaming silently. Judge Moreno then addressed Kowalski. "Mr. Kowalski, you've been found guilty of heinous crimes against a child. The evidence against you is irrefutable. You stole Nicole Summers' life and inflicted unimaginable pain on her family. This court sentences you to life in prison without the possibility of parole." The gavel struck. Kowalski, showing no emotion, was escorted from the courtroom. Outside, reporters surrounded Jennifer. She made a brief statement. Nicole's case was cold for 16 years because the science didn't exist to solve it. But it does now. If you're watching this and your family has a cold case, don't give up. Science can bring answers. Justice can come, even after all this time. On November 22, 2023, a funeral service was held for Nicole Summers at Millerton Community Church, 16 years after she should have been laid to rest. Over 300 people attended, classmates now in their 30s, teachers, neighbors, law enforcement officers, strangers who'd followed the case. Jennifer Summers stood at the front beside a closed casket draped with white lilies. She read a prepared statement, her voice breaking but persistent. Nicole loved soccer, she loved music, she loved her friends. She had dreams of becoming a teacher. She was kind, funny, smart, and taken from us far too soon. But today we finally say goodbye, not as a missing person, but as a beloved daughter brought home. Nicole was buried at Millerton Cemetery under a headstone that read, Nicole Marie Summers, 1993-2007. Loved beyond measure, forever 14. In December 2023, the Ohio Attorney General's office recognized Lieutenant Maya Torres and the investigative team for their work on the Nicole Summers case. It became a training example for law enforcement statewide. The importance of evidence preservation, the power of forensic genealogy, the necessity of never giving up on cold cases. The Ashford County Sheriff's Office established the Nicole Summers Cold Case Fund, allocating resources specifically for DNA reanalysis in unsolved cases. 3 additional cold cases from the 1990s were reopened using similar techniques. 2 have since been solved. Jennifer Summers became an advocate for families of missing persons. She partnered with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, speaking at conferences, supporting other families enduring the agony of not knowing. She told them, "Hope is not foolish. Science is catching up. Answers can come." Lieutenant Maya Torres submitted her final report on the Nicole Summers case on December 30, 2023. The document, 247 pages long, detailed every step of the investigation, from evidence reanalysis to arrest to conviction. But in the final paragraph, she wrote something personal. This case demonstrates that time does not erase guilt. David Kowalski believed he was safe, that 16 years of silence meant he'd gotten away with murder. He disposed of evidence, moved away, built a quiet life, but he left behind something he couldn't destroy: his DNA on a young girl's backpack strap. That microscopic trace, preserved in a cold evidence locker, waited patiently for science to catch up. And when it did, justice followed. Nicole Summers' case reminds us why we preserve evidence, why we maintain files, why we never close the door on unsolved crimes. Because somewhere in those boxes, in those sealed vials, the truth is waiting. Our job is to give it a voice. Torres visited Jennifer Summers in January 2024, sitting in the same living room where Detective Harrison had interviewed her 16 years earlier. They drank tea and talked about Nicole, not about the case, the trial, the horror, but about who Nicole was. Her laugh, her terrible singing voice, her habit of leaving socks everywhere, her dreams. She wanted to be a teacher, Jennifer said, holding a photo album. Elementary school. She loved kids. Torres listened, understanding that this was part of the healing, remembering Nicole not as a victim but as a person. Before leaving, Torres said, "Your strength kept this case alive, Mrs. Summers. You never let Nicole be forgotten." Jennifer smiled sadly. A mother never forgets. The story of Nicole Summers is not unique. Across America, thousands of families live in the purgatory of not knowing. Missing children, unsolved murders, cases gone cold when leads evaporated and resources ran dry. For decades, many of these cases seemed hopeless. But forensic science has changed the equation. DNA technology that didn't exist in 2007 solved Nicole's case in 2023. Forensic genealogy, once science fiction, is now standard practice. Digital databases, genetic markers, advanced analysis, these tools are rewriting the rulebook for cold case investigations. But technology alone isn't enough. It requires proper evidence preservation. If Nicole's DNA sample had been discarded or improperly stored, the case would remain unsolved. Every piece of evidence matters. Persistent investigators. Lieutenant Torres could have accepted the no leads classification. Instead, she saw potential and pursued it relentlessly. Legal frameworks. Forensic genealogy is powerful, but requires careful legal oversight to balance privacy rights with justice. Courts must continue refining these tools ethically. Public support. Cold case investigations need funding. They need community awareness. They need people who care enough to say, "This matters. Don't give up." Nicole's case also reveals the uncomfortable truth about predators. They're often not strangers lurking in shadows. David Kowalski was a neighbor. He lived 0.18 miles from Nicole's bus stop. He saw her walk past his house daily. He was interviewed by police in 2007 and released because there wasn't enough evidence to hold him. He seemed ordinary, unremarkable, safe. This is the reality of many abductions. The perpetrator is someone familiar, someone with access, someone who blends into the community. It's why cases like Nicole's are so difficult to solve, and why DNA evidence is so crucial. It removes ambiguity. It bypasses alibis and lies and careful presentations of normalcy. It reveals the truth at a molecular level. The resolution of Nicole's case brought Ashford County a complex mix of emotions. Relief that answers finally came, grief that those answers confirmed the worst, and anger that justice took 16 years. Some questioned why Kowalski wasn't investigated more thoroughly in 2007. Detective Harrison, now 72, addressed this publicly in an interview with the Millerton Gazette. "We did everything we could with the resources and technology available at the time. Kowalski was one of dozens of people we looked at. Without physical evidence linking him to Nicole, we couldn't obtain search warrants or make an arrest. That's how the system works. It protects the innocent, but sometimes that means the guilty slip through cracks. I've carried Nicole's case with me every day since 2007. I'm grateful it's finally solved, but I wish it had been solved sooner." Harrison's words sparked a broader conversation. How many other cold cases could be solved if resources were allocated? How many families are still waiting for answers that technology could provide if only someone would reopen the files? The Ohio Cold Case Initiative, which facilitated Nicole's case resolution, has a backlog of over 400 unsolved cases awaiting DNA reanalysis. Funding limits how many can be processed each year. Advocacy groups are pushing for increased state and federal funding, using Nicole's case as a rallying point. This is what's possible when we invest in justice. On a cold morning in February 2024, Jennifer Summers visited Nicole's grave alone. She placed fresh flowers, white lilies, Nicole's favorite, on the headstone and sat in the frozen grass, talking to her daughter as she often did. "They got him, baby. He's in prison forever. He can't hurt anyone else." She paused, voice breaking. "I'm sorry it took so long. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you that day. But you're home now. You're home." Wind whispered through the bare trees of Millerton Cemetery, carrying the sound of distant traffic, a dog barking, life continuing in the small Ohio town forever marked by Nicole's story. Jennifer stayed until her fingers went numb from cold, then stood, touched the headstone gently, and walked back to her car. She drove past Miller Road on the way home. She always did, even though it hurt. The bus stop where Nicole was last seen alive now had a small memorial, a wooden post with a plaque reading, "In memory of Nicole Summers, never forgotten." The cornfields were brown and dormant, waiting for spring. But spring would come. It always did. And Jennifer would continue living, carrying Nicole's memory, speaking at conferences, helping other families, keeping her daughter's name alive in the way that mattered most, by ensuring she wasn't just a victim, but a catalyst for change. The deeper truth. What makes Nicole Summers' story resonate beyond the specifics of one small town, one missing girl, one delayed arrest? It's the universality of the themes woven through it. The fragility of safety. Nicole was doing something utterly routine, walking home from her bus stop. There was nothing risky or unusual about her actions, yet danger found her anyway. This reminds us that evil doesn't always announce itself. It can wear an ordinary face, live in an ordinary house, and wait for an ordinary moment to shatter lives. The weight of waiting. Jennifer Summers endured 16 years of not knowing. Not knowing if Nicole was alive, suffering, calling for her, needing her. That kind of ambiguous loss is a unique torture. Families of missing persons describe it as living in limbo. Unable to grieve fully, unable to move forward, suspended in a perpetual state of hoping and fearing simultaneously. When answers finally came, Jennifer described it as finally being able to breathe, even though the air burns. The power of persistence, from Detective Harrison keeping Nicole's photo on his desk for years, to Lieutenant Torres refusing to accept unsolvable, to Jennifer Summers organizing vigils when no one else attended. Persistence mattered. Not the flashy kind, but the quiet, daily act of refusing to let a case be forgotten. Science as redeemer. DNA didn't just solve Nicole's case, it gave Jennifer her daughter back. Not alive, tragically, but brought her home. It transformed Nicole from a perpetual question mark into a known, mourned, properly buried daughter. Science provided certainty in a world that had offered Jennifer nothing but doubt for 16 years. The community reckoning. Ashford County had to confront the reality that a predator lived among them undetected for years. Neighbors who'd waved to David Kowalski, who'd hired him for home repairs, who'd seen him as just another guy, had to reconcile that image with the truth. It's a reminder that our judgments of safety are often built on surfaces, and monsters are skilled at maintaining those surfaces. If you're watching this, you've followed Nicole Summers' journey from disappearance to discovery, from cold case to closed case, from question mark to gravestone. Her story is one of thousands. Right now there are over 600,000 missing persons cases reported in the United States annually. Approximately 100,000 active cold cases in law enforcement databases. Thousands of families like Jennifer Summers, waiting for answers that may be sitting in evidence lockers, waiting for someone to review the files with new technology. You can help by 1. Subscribing to Untold Cold Cases files. Every subscription tells algorithms that these stories matter, that unsolved cases deserve attention, that families deserve answers. 2. Sharing these stories. Someone watching might have information about a case. Someone might be inspired to advocate for cold case funding. Someone might be a future investigator who chooses this path because they saw what's possible. 3. Supporting cold case initiatives. Whether through donations to organizations like the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, or contacting local representatives to advocate for forensic funding, or simply staying informed, engagement matters. 4. Never forgetting. The most powerful thing you can do is remember. Remember Nicole. Remember the thousands like her. Because when we remember, we ensure these cases don't fade into bureaucratic obscurity. We keep pressure on systems to find answers. Leave a comment below. Where are you watching from? Do you know of a cold case in your area that needs attention? Let's build a community that refuses to let the forgotten stay forgotten. Hit the like button if you believe every family deserves answers, no matter how long it takes. And subscribe to Untold Cold Cases files because some stories refuse to stay buried, and they shouldn't. Justice may be delayed, but with persistence, science, and people who care, it doesn't have to be denied. On a shelf in the Ashford County Sheriff's Office, case file MC to 2007-142 now sits in a different section. Not cold cases, but resolved. The folder is thicker than it was in 2007, filled with DNA reports, genealogy charts, trial transcripts, news clippings about the conviction. Inside the front cover, someone added a new photograph. Nicole Summers at her grave, the headstone surrounded by flowers, sunlight filtering through trees. Beneath it, a handwritten note from Lieutenant Torres. Nicole, your voice was heard. You led us to your killer. Thank you for waiting. The file will remain there permanently, a testament to what's possible when evidence is preserved, technology advances, and investigators refuse to give up. It will be studied by future detectives, cited in training seminars, referenced in policy discussions about cold case protocols. But more than that, it represents something simpler and more profound. A mother's love, strong enough to sustain hope through 16 winters. A daughter's case that refused to disappear into bureaucratic silence, and a truth that, no matter how deeply buried, eventually found its way into the light. Nicole Summers walked home from her bus stop on October 17, 2007, and never arrived. But on November 22, 2023, she finally came home. Not to 642 Sycamore Drive, but to rest beside her father in Millerton Cemetery, her name cleared from the missing persons list, her case marked solved, her memory preserved not as a question, but as an answer. An answer that took 16 years, the dedication of countless investigators, the evolution of forensic science, and a community that learned the hardest lesson. Evil can wear a familiar face, and justice, though it may walk slowly, does not forget the way home. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to Untold Cold Cases files, because every unsolved case is someone's Nicole. Every cold file is someone's 16-year wait, and every solved case proves that silence, no matter how long it lasted, can be broken. Justice delayed is not justice denied if we refuse to stop searching.